Under a new GOP majority. Let's bring in Angela Rye, Democratic strategist for Impact Strategies. Angela, thanks so much for joining us.
Hey, Luke.
So I was trying to look for a silver lining in the Democrats' just absolute spanking last week rather. And the one thing that I can maybe conjure up here is the Supreme Court might be able to give a little fuel to the Democrats' fire if they were to gut the ACA. So my question to you would be, no, I'm not saying it's a good thing. I'm saying for politics, for political purposes, just how does health care play within the Democratic coalition moving forward? If it were to be gutted by the Supreme Court, could that perhaps inspire the base to turn out more heavily in 2016? Do you see that at play at all?
I think it would inspire the base to move to Canada, Luke. I'm not inspired by that. Obviously, you introduced me as a Democratic strategist. The blue shirt probably gives it away, but I would say, and Abby, too. Abby's Democrat.
I'm in a blue dress today, too. So I'm not a Democratic strategist. Just want to make that clear.
We don't know. But anyway, Luke, to your point, I think the reality of this particular situation is that the Supreme Court considering Obamacare again at this particular time, it gives me great pause. They are doing this before there's a circuit court ruling on this, which means that there are 4, maybe even 5 Supreme Court justices that would be on the side of what you're talking about, gutting it. We know that they enjoy gutting things. They did it to the Voting Rights Act last summer. The other problem that you want to consider about this is the timing, right? This would be a March consideration, arguments before the Supreme Court, and then, of course, a ruling in June. So the timing of that is also precarious for Democrats, and I think the country writ large. We really need to stop looking at health care in this country as a partisan issue. I see it as a fundamental right, and I think that there are people on both sides of the aisle that see that as well and are interested as to why, after an election where people clearly said they are tired of the gridlock, why the Republican leaders now are saying, oh, we're going to repeal Obamacare again. I don't think that there's any real appetite for that, and they were probably hoping, frankly, that Republicans would concentrate more on the economy.
But you know what, Angela? Universal health care was a decades-long progressive dream achieved with Obamacare. And not completely, right? But most of the way it gets us there.
Right.
And then Dems in this election ran away from Obamacare. They abandoned it. Don't they deserve whatever they get from for abandoning Obamacare?
Well, Teray, the problem, I think, again, even with that kind of state of mind, is that it's sure you can punish the Democrats, but you're going to
punished enough.
You're going to punish poor people.
Yes.
You're going to punish kids. You're going to punish.
But shouldn't we have been standing up for poor people and kids during the election?
Let's not say we, because we did not do that. There were some other folks that, again, were wearing the blue shirts that did that, right? I mean, I would not have advised that. They did not call me and ask me if that was a good strategy. It was a terrible strategy. I don't stand by it. I won't defend it. It was awful. And now we have to pay the consequences for it, which we could have had to pay anyway with this particular Supreme Court deciding that they're going to look at the subsidies.
Right.
Well, normally when politicians promise something, you expect them to deliver on that. And you have a number, that's supposed to be the case. At least you vote for people hoping that they'll follow through on something. You have a number of lawmakers coming in to D.C. that used that line in the campaign, I'm going to repeal Obamacare, including Joni Ernst, for example. Many of her voters are expecting her to go in there and keep fighting this fight. I mean, the Supreme Court may, press the pause button for a minute, but don't a lot of these folks have to follow through on their promise on that?
I think that again, based on what we saw at their press conferences last week, they are going to continue to repeal and maybe one day replace Obamacare. And I think the other thing that's scary about Ms. Ernst is she not only promised to go through on a repeal of Obamacare, but she also talked about to jail the bureaucrats that went into states to enforce Obamacare. So these are extreme positions that I really don't think have a place in this democracy. And I think, again, the voters weren't necessarily saying, oh, hey, the Republican Party is full of these great ideas. It was just reprimanding Washington for the gridlock.
Yeah, and sometimes someone like Joni Ernst will go to Washington and moderate, and other times you're like, oh, no, what they said they were going to do, that's exactly what they're doing now. But there's also a big threat to Obamacare at the state level. You know, Democrats were hoping they could push forward Medicaid expansion in a number of other states by unseating Republican governors. That didn't happen. So this idea that Medicaid expansion is eventually going to be inevitable and too hard for governors to resist, it doesn't look like that is the case.
Yeah, I think that again, that's another really harsh reality. I mean, the standards that we currently have for Medicaid, I don't think are low enough, right? There are families where if you make $32,000, then you qualify for a family of four, and it's like you're poor, but you're, I think, not poor enough, right? It's like it's this crazy standard that really needs to be looked at, and we're, again, dealing with people that think that health care is a benefit to be paid for. And if you don't have the money, oh, well, you're out of luck. I won't say what I was really thinking, but you're out of luck. So it's just, I think we really have to deal with the challenges in these particular policies, and I don't see them getting better anytime soon.
Yeah, it's just remarkable. First passed in 2009. We're still talking about it almost weekly in 2014. It's the political issue that does not go away. Angela Rye, thank you so much. We appreciate it. Up next.